They say my wife is respectful. They say my child is well raised. They say my neighbor is kind. That is the problem. My wife laughs the loudest when he is around. My child runs to him faster than he runs to me. And the neighbor knows things about my house he never asked about. That morning, while tying my shoes, he looked at me and said, "Some men leave for work, not knowing what is waiting for them at home." I laughed, because laughing is cheaper than thinking. That night, my wife slept deeply. I stayed awake, listening to a house that suddenly felt unfamiliar. The fan was on, the lights were off, and my chest was tight for no reason I could explain. I woke up, and my wife was not beside me. She was sitting at the edge of the bed, phone pressed to her ear. She said nothing. She just nodded. When I asked who she was talking to, she said, "It is nothing. Nothing that ends at 2 a.m. Later that day, my child asked me, "Daddy, can someone have two fathers and not know it?" I stopped walking. In the evening, the neighbor brought food again. He sat comfortably, too comfortably. As he stood to leave, he said quietly, "Tomorrow will be hard." He did not look at me when he said it. My wife did not look at me either. I told my wife I was traveling for work. She did not ask where. She did not ask when I would return. She only said, "Okay." That night, I sat in my car, outside my own gate, watching shadows move behind curtains I paid for. At exactly 11 p.m., the gate opened. The neighbor walked in like he belonged there. No knock, no fear. I followed quietly, my hands shaking. Then I heard laughter. A child's laughter. My child's laughter. And suddenly, I was afraid of opening my own door. What I was never meant to hear. When I entered, nobody shouted. Nobody ran. My wife was crying silently. My child held her tightly. The neighbor stood near them, calm. Too calm. My wife saw me and said, "This is not how you were supposed to find out." Find out? What? A neighbor told me to sit down, like a visitor, in my own house. I asked my wife one question. "Have you been lying to me?" She could not answer. Then my child looked at me and spoke with a voice too serious for their age. "You are not my real daddy." The room collapsed. My wife screamed my name. The neighbor did not move. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my mind needed air. I asked my wife again, "Is this true?" She cried harder. Still no answer. The neighbor stepped forward and said, "I did not want you to hear it from the child." I asked him then, "Who are you?" He looked at me and said, "Next week, you will hear everything from my mouth." And for the first time in my life, I did not recognize the people standing in my home.